What's going on, people? It's AFlyingModem. And yes, you're about to watch an interview, but I wanted to come in real quick and put the video into proper context. I talked with the lead developer of Squids From Space, great guy named Brian, and we had a very good conversation, a great conversation about the game and plans for the game and just so many things. And I'm going to be putting out parts of our whole review. He promised me like 20-30 minutes and we ended up talking for like an hour, so I really appreciated that. It was a lot of fun and the game is a lot of fun. So to put the video into proper context, I had some problems with background noise in the back, and that kind of for me destroyed the audio. Everybody knows on the channel I'm big on quality, and basically the audio was unusable, so I cut up certain parts of the whole interview, so when it starts like skipping around, and it's not going to do it much, but basically the gameplay is going to like fast forward, so to speak. I try to make sure that the conversation was as fluid as I can make it while cutting it up, but for the most part it's still a great conversation. We're just missing little nuggets that was a part of that conversation, but definitely I will definitely have another conversation with them and about the game and so on, and that's why I wanted to give y'all a visual of the game, and y'all can see who's talking in the left hand corner at the very top and so on. So enjoy the interview. Make sure y'all catch the next parts of it, because there's 3 more parts after this, but make sure y'all catch all of them, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Definitely see there being a competitive side to it, where 2 teams can be very competitive against each other, doing strategies, you know, call outs and things of that nature. Then there's that also that casual side where people can just play and have fun, and you can even mix the two together, where people who are playing competitively can just play competitively and people who are just playing casual can play casual. And that's actually kind of a hard thing to do, because some games just give off the vibe that it's a competitive game, right? And other games are just like, this is just a game you kind of just play to have fun, you know, it's no stress or anything of that nature. But Squids From Space actually, to me, captures both audiences and can mix them very well, and that's something that's hard to do.
Because, you know, the more, you know, obviously the more hardcore you make it, the more you're going to alienate casual players and vice versa. So towing that line was something that we'd been focused on from the very, very start, and it was always one of the pillars of the game. And I think the way that we hopefully have managed to achieve it, sort of a blend of the controls are very simple. You know, there aren't a lot of actual different discrete actions that you can do in the game.
Right.
Like a button that you push does something. A lot of the depth of the game comes from the interactions between the players, the different teams in the map, when to do things, and grouping up in communication. Like, honestly, one of the reasons, besides the many other obvious reasons, that I'm very excited to release this game is in, you know, a month. I'm really interested to see what a 8 versus 8 game of really good players who are communicating even looks like. You know,
right.
we've tried to do that ourselves here, but again, we've actually only got 10 people. We don't even have enough people to fill a whole
right.
server on the team. So players are always going to outskill devs eventually. So I'm really interested to see what a game of an 8v8, serious 8v8 game where teams are communicating of Squids really looks like. What the meta strategies evolve.
Right.
Pretty simple puzzle pieces.
Definitely. I'm excited to see that too. I would definitely like to be a part of that, because even when I was playing it with my friend, my dear Serenity, we were being very competitive and like giving call outs and so on. So I can only imagine what a full 8v8 kind of thing happens, like what it would look like and feel like. It'd probably be a lot more a lot more tougher to get through all that.
I think the strategies are going to change a whole lot, because in Squids, pretty much the most powerful thing that you can do is group up. Like, teamwork really does make a big difference in the game. So it's going to be interesting, and to see. I suspect that there are going to be some strategies, some teamwork-based strategies that we haven't discovered yet, that are going to kind of be a little broken, that we're going to need to jump on as the game matures and people get better at it. From day one, we definitely planned it to be playable with a controller, because not only because we were going to planning on releasing it on consoles, but also because we feel like the game, some of the age groups that the game that Squids From Space appeals to are going to be console gamers. In their background is going to be more in consoles. They're going to feel more comfortable using a controller rather than a keyboard.
Right.
People with that background weren't, forced into one gameplay style. And also UI, I know this UI is a bit of a dry topic, but the difference between PC and console UI is pretty huge.
Right.
Because of mouse versus controller. And we wanted to make sure that all of our interface, our UI stuff worked with a controller, so that we didn't have to redo all of it when we released our consoles.
Right. Which is good, because I always, when I come into PC games and then like I'm having to switch between my mouse and using my mouse to get through the UI and using the controller to get through the like the rest of the game, it's kind of like what's the word? Skimpy? Not skimpy. Like sluggish almost. So being able to navigate through the UI with just a controller is actually pretty nice. And I picked up on the thought that maybe you would or just Fun Bits in general was planning for a console release, which is good to see, because I think this game can do well on console with the casual audience of console and so on.
So, I mean, Fun Bits has traditionally been actually a console company. Fat Princess was on PS3. Fat Princess Adventures was on PS4. Escape Plan was on the Vita. So we definitely have more of a console kind of pedigree here than PC, although it's much easier to release on PC, obviously. Consoles are much more tightly controlled. So yeah, but basically what I was saying was a console pedigree company. So we've always designed with a console in mind, even though we're planning to release on PC first. Mostly that's just because, honestly, it's easier to get your game out on PC with Steam than it is to get on a console right now. Especially for an indie title like this.
Okay. So another question would be, how much I think, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but how much time did y'all put into developing the game initially? Like, how much time went into the game before like the first playable build was available?
So internally, not actually that long. So the game was actually developed in 3 different stages.
Okay.
The first stage was several years ago, before I was even at Fun Bits. When the original concept was first kind of come up with. The team at the time knew that they wanted to make this an action game that was sort of like Fat Princess, a fast, chaotic action game.
Right. And
they made a quick prototype in our old engine that we used to use. That took about a month, I think. To January of last year, we knew that we wanted to. We had decided that we were going to go ahead and try to get a proto of Squids playable internally. So we spent about a month core of the game, like the shooting, how the guns all felt, what the camera angle was exactly, you know, very basic stuff like that.
Okay.
It only took a couple weeks before we really had something that honestly resembled pretty closely, you know, in the core of what we have today in the final game. Which is, we developed an Unreal 4, and, you know, at the risk of sounding a bit like a shill for Epic, I love developing Unreal.
Okay.
Because it is very easy to get up and running very quickly.
Okay.
Squids. So that was January of last year. After we finished the prototype, we put it on ice for a while we did some other projects. And we picked it up in September of last year, and then have been developing it through, you know, ever since. So this last push was about 9 months, you know, September through June.
Okay.
Step was probably about 1 month. So the game's been in development, you know, in total probably about a year.
Okay. And that development process actually isn't so much what I thought it would be, because normally we would see development being, or the idea of development is like there's just people developing the game all year round, like doing nothing but code until the game is finished.
Yeah, I mean, usually that is how it works, but onto it more fully either of the previous 2 times is simply because, you know, we didn't have funding for it. And it wasn't until, you know, at some mid to late last year that we were like, all right, we're going fully independent as a studio. We're not going to be shopping around for someone to finance our game. We're just going to make it and then put it out there. And if it sells, great, we're an independent game studio. And if it doesn't sell, well, it's time to find a new job. So I can only answer that in stories that I've heard, because the concept of the Squids was originally thought up several years ago before I was at the company. So the story that I heard, and this may or may not be the whole truth. They knew that they wanted to make another kind of fast action game.
Right.
I'm trying to think of, you know, a setting that the game would take place in. They'd already done kind of silly fantasy.
Okay.
With Princess, and they wanted to move in a different direction. So what happened was, at one point when they were having a meeting about it and coming up with ideas, one of the artists was just sort of doodling something while other people were talking. And what they were doodling happened to be this squid alien in a fishbowl rolling around. And everyone just fell in love with that concept because it was the right amount of silly, it was cute, it was kind of a neat concept that wasn't too derivative of anything else that the company had done, or any particular game that they could think of. Right. So it just sort of stuck. Like, you know how sometimes the best ideas don't come from thinking about it too hard. They just come from something random that someone comes up with at some point, almost by accident. Right. And it just catches fire, catches everyone's imagination. Right. So I wasn't there, so that may not be the definitive truth, but that's the version of the story that I.
Okay. Now it makes sense. Because specifically, I was just wondering if there was maybe like alien bears or you know, like an alien otter that comes and invades, you know, Earth. But you know, that makes sense. Definitely. Kind of like the first thing that everybody thinks of, or just agrees with. Definitely.